All right, so BlackLine's Q2 2024 performance. Ready to dive in?
Let's do it. Always love getting into the numbers, A&D, what they're saying to investors, behind the scenes kind of stuff.
Exactly, like having a backstage pass.
Totally.
Okay, so first up, this 13% revenue growth in the 10Q. It's pretty impressive. They're clearly beating expectations.
Yeah, definitely exceeding expectations.
Got to unpack that a bit, though, right? Subscription revenue is still super solid, which is key for any SaaS company.
Absolutely. It's the lifeblood, right? It shows they're pulling in new customers and keeping them around, which is huge.
For sure.
But there's also this tiny dip in professional services revenue. Not massive or anything, but maybe a little whisper of those macroeconomic factors everyone keeps bringing up.
Interesting. Yeah, because usually that means helping companies actually USE the software, like getting set up or expanding to new features, right?
Exactly.
So if that's slowing, it could be a sign that companies are like, okay, got to hold back on new projects, conserve some cash.
Exactly. CFOs are definitely feeling the pressure right now, and every dollar matters. This is where it gets really interesting because BlackLine is a premium solution.
They are.
Higher price point.
Yeah.
So can they keep that up when everyone's tightening their belts? It's a big question.
Makes you wonder. Especially with competitors like OneStream, right? They're not just sitting around.
Nope. Competition is fierce.
We'll definitely dig into that whole landscape a bit later.
Yeah.
But even with that customer caution, they've still got that healthy 21% non-GAAP operating margin.
And that strong cash flow is clutch. Really important right now. 10Q shows $91 million in net cash from operating activities. That's huge. Gives them room to invest, in things like AI, which we'll talk about.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And weather any storms if the economy gets worse. Not a lot of their competitors can say that.
Right. Strong position. Yeah, it's not all sunshine and rainbows, though, right?
Yeah.
We keep hearing about those macroeconomic factors, and you can practically hear CFOs everywhere, like hitting the brakes on spending.
Oh, absolutely. And this is where those earnings calls get really interesting. Remember that comment from Mark Parton back in Q1? He was talking about how these big deals are kind of getting stuck because now you've got all these decision makers involved.
Right. Like suddenly it's not just the controller, it's the CFO. The CIO, maybe the whole board all got to weigh in.
Exactly. Everyone's a little more cautious now. And this ties right into something interesting in the 10Q, the dollar-based net revenue retention rate.
Okay, for those of us who don't speak fluent SaaS, break that down for us.
Basically, it tells you how much revenue they're getting from existing customers compared to last year. Like, are they sticking around and spending more?
Ah, okay, so like a loyalty program, but for businesses. Gotcha.
Exactly. And BlackLine's is at 104%, which is good. Don't get me wrong, but it's down a bit from last quarter.
So customers are sticking around. They're just not as spendy as they used to be.
Exactly. It's that caution again. But here's the thing. BlackLine is going all in on the future, especially when it comes to AI. You see it everywhere in these reports.
Yeah, they're not shying away from it, that's for sure.
It's a bold move, right? Weaving AI into existing products, launching new AI-powered tools, even positioning themselves as like this AI-driven platform for the modern CFO. The question is, will their customers actually bite?
Right. Will they be into it? Especially those accountants. They're not exactly known for loving change.
Exactly. It's like offering someone a self-driving car when they still haven't quite figured out how to parallel park.
Perfect analogy. So are they ready? That's the million-dollar question.
Especially in this economic climate. Risk mitigation is top of mind for everyone. CFOs might see the potential of AI, but actually trusting it with their core financial stuff, that's a whole other story.
It's a gamble for sure.
Yeah.
But there's this one little detail from the Q2 2023 earnings call that I found really interesting. Therese Tucker mentioned a 219% increase in API calls.
Oh, wow. That, interesting. Okay, so for those who don't know, API calls basically show how much customers are integrating BlackLine with their other systems. That kind of jump means they're really relying on the platform.
Yeah, it's like BlackLine's become the backbone of these finance departments.
Yeah.
Which makes me think maybe they would be more open to AI features if they're already woven into what they're using every day.
Right. It's not some scary new system. It's just a natural extension of what they already trust.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
BlackLine needs to make it feel like evolution, not revolution.
It's a balancing act, right? Big bets on the future with AI, but then you've got those risks and that challenging macro environment popping up everywhere. Makes you wonder. Yeah, it's not all smooth sailing. Some of those risks are, pretty serious. We talked about competition, companies like OneStream upping their game. But there's also that whole question of, will customers actually use the AI stuff?
Right. Will they just see it as another thing they have to learn, another layer of complexity?
Exactly. Especially at those bigger companies, change can be slow. Getting everyone on board with a whole new way of doing things, it's tough.
Oh, totally. And then on top of that, you've got the whole global economic picture. The 10Q mentions things slowing down in Europe, which is a big market for them.
Yeah, gotta keep an eye on that.
Asia's looking good, growing fast, but can it make up for weakness elsewhere if that continues? It's a lot to juggle.
Yeah.
You know what I found interesting, even with all this talk about risks and challenges? BlackLine themselves seem pretty optimistic. Remember that quote from Owen Ryan last quarter?
Yeah.
He said something like, and I'm paraphrasing here, but the gist was, the economy feels more like a headwind than a tailwind right now. But hey, our win rate's still strong.
I like that. They're not sugarcoating it, but they're confident.
Exactly. They're acknowledging the tough stuff, but there's that underlying sense of, we got this.
Yeah, and their numbers are good. They're executing well. The question is, can they keep that up if things get really rough? Can they sell those CFOs on the AI vision and ride out whatever's coming economically?
It's kind of like they're sailing into uncharted territory, right? They've got a good ship, a skilled crew, a plan, but who knows what's over the horizon.
And that's what makes these deep dives so fascinating. We're not just looking at spreadsheets. We're piecing together the whole story, the strategy, the risks, the opportunities. BlackLine's at a pivotal moment. It's going to be fascinating to see what they do next.
Totally agree. So to wrap things up here, if you're at all interested in where finance is headed, how AI is changing the game, or even just how companies are navigating uncertain times, BlackLine is definitely one to watch.
Absolutely. Their success depends on how well they adapt, how well they bring their customers along on this AI journey, and how they handle whatever the economy throws at them. It's a story that's still being written.
And on that note, we'll leave you to ponder the possibilities. What do you think the future holds for BlackLine? Are CFOs ready to go all in on AI? Share your thoughts with us on social media using #DeepDiveBlackline. We'd love to hear your take. Until next time, keep diving deep.